The first time the alien girl screamed, it wasn't because of war or death. It was because she finally understood how humans are born. I remember the sound echoing through the observation ring of Station Helios, sharp and broken, like glass shattering in zero gravity. Alarms didn't go off. No hull breach. Just her, hands shaking, eyes wide, staring at the hologram I had just activated. And in that moment, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. But that was only the beginning. My name is Dr. Elias Monroe, Xenobiology Liaison for the United Terran Coalition, which is a fancy way of saying I explain humans to aliens who think we're a dangerous evolutionary accident. Most days, that meant fielding polite questions about our inefficient sleep cycles or our baffling love of stories where we imagine destroying ourselves. Then came Lyrixa. She was assigned me after first contact with the Ashari Collective, an ancient hypological species that reproduced through controlled biofabrication. No parents, no pregnancy, no birth, just precision-grown life, assembled molecule by molecule in sterile chambers. Lyrixa was young by Ashari standards. Curious. Too curious. She wanted to understand us. None of us were prepared for how far that curiosity would go. Station Helios orbited quietly between Earth and Mars, a cathedral of glass and steel floating against the void. That's where Lyrixa and I met every cycle, walking the long corridors while she peppered me with questions. Human emotional bonding remains inefficient, she said once, her voice melodic but clipped. Yet you persist. We like it, I replied, even when it hurts. She tilted her head. Pain is preference. Fascinating. I should have known then that explaining reproduction would end badly, but that realization came too late. It started innocently enough. How do humans create new humans? She asked one cycle, her bioluminescent eyes glowing softly. Is it similar to our genomic weaving? I hesitated. Protocol suggested a simplified answer. Educational. Abstract. But Lyrixa had already accessed half our public databases. She deserved honesty. So I showed her the diagrams, the anatomy, the process, the timeline. At first, she was silent. Then her breathing changed. And then she screamed. What I saw next changed everything. Her limbs trembled as she stared at the hologram of a developing fetus, floating peacefully in simulated amniotic fluid. You mean inside? She whispered. Inside another living being? Yes, I said gently. Inside the mother. Her pupils dilated, colors shifting in distress. For how long? 9 months. She staggered back as if struck. You imprison your young within flesh? No, I said quickly. It's not imprisonment. It's parasitism, she interrupted, voice cracking. Voluntary parasitism. The word hung between us like a blade. And I realized something then. To her, this wasn't beautiful. It was horror. Lyrixa demanded more. She always did. She asked about pain, about labor, about complications, about mortality rates before modern medicine, about what happened when things went wrong. Each answer peeled away another layer of her composure. You risk death, she said, stunned. Regularly. Repeatedly. Yes, I admitted, we used to lose a lot of mothers. And children. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And you continued? I nodded. But why? She demanded. Your species could have engineered safer methods by now. We have, I said, artificial wombs, genetic synthesis, cloning. Then why persist with this barbaric ritual? I met her gaze. Because some things matter more than efficiency. That was when she looked at me like I was insane. Or brave. I couldn't tell which. The Ashari Collective requested an emergency ethics review. They call human reproduction a biological war crime against yourselves. Debates erupted across Helios. Some humans were offended. Others were quietly ashamed. Ashari delegates argued we should abandon natural birth entirely if we want to continue the alliance. Lyrixa stopped meeting my eyes, and that hurt more than I expected. But the real turning point came when she asked one final question. What happens, she said slowly, when a human mother chooses to die so the child can live? The station fell silent. None of us were prepared for the truth. I told her about my sister, about Sarah. She was 32, brilliant, stubborn, pregnant during the food riots back on Earth, before Helios existed, complications, limited medical access, a choice. They asked her. I said, my voice barely steady, save her or save the baby. Larixa leaned closer, transfixed. She chose him. I continued. She never even hesitated. And the child? Larixa asked. I swallowed. That's me. The silence that followed was heavier than vacuum. Her glow dimmed. And for the first time, the alien girl cried. That is madness, she whispered. That is unimaginable. She loved me, I said, before she ever met me. Larixa pressed her hands to her chest, struggling to process. In Ashari creation, no individual sacrifices themselves. Life is calculated, balanced. We're not balanced, I said. We're human. That was the moment everything shifted. The collective withdrew their proposal. Instead, they demanded something else. Proof. They wanted to witness a human birth. In person. Around the station. Fear spread like wildfire. No one wanted to be observed like that. Not during something so raw, so intimate. But a volunteer stepped forward. Commander Reyes. Pregnant. Calm. Unafraid. Larixa insisted on attending. And I stayed by her side as the lights dimmed and the medical bay filled with tension. What she saw there changed her forever. She watched as Commander Reyes screamed, cried, laughed, and nearly broke. She watched humans rush in, not with cold efficiency, but with desperate care. Hands held, words whispered, tears shed openly. She watched blood and pain and fear. And then she heard the baby cry. A small, furious sound that cut through everything. Larixa gasped. Her light flared brighter than I'd ever seen. That sound, she whispered. It is alive. Commander Reyes laughed through tears. Welcome to humanity. Larixa fell to her knees. Afterward, she didn't speak for a long time. Then she came to me. You do this all the time? She asked, voice trembling. Knowing the cost? Yes, I said, every generation. Her eyes met mine, filled with something new, reverence. Your species is illogical, she said. Dangerous, fragile. She paused. And unbearably brave. The Ashari collective rewrote their assessment. Humans were no longer classified as reckless primitives. We were classified as a high-risk, high-empathy species, to be protected. Larixa stayed on Helios. She studies human families now. Birthdays, lullabies, bedtime stories, the strange rituals of love passed down through pain. Sometimes she watches children play and glows softly, silently. And sometimes she looks at me and says, your sister lives in you. She's right. Every human carries ghosts, and hope, and the willingness to suffer, so someone else can exist. The universe still doesn't understand us, but it's starting to respect us. Because the most terrifying thing we ever showed the stars wasn't our weapons. It was how much we're willing to bleed for love.